Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live stream with our guest, who I'll introduce in a second. I'm Erwin Elman. I'm president of Save Ukraine Canada, but also the president of Defense for Children International Canada, um, who are co-presenting this event. We're going to talk about the state of the child in Ukraine, and we're fortunate to have with us Mykola Kuleba, who has been my colleague for 15 years, at least when he was the child ombudsman of Ukraine. And now he's the founder of Save Ukraine in Ukraine. He'll talk about that and his work there. Um, he's not just my colleague now, he's my friend. Sometimes we call ourselves brothers from another mother. Um, he's a great person. I hope you get to see the real Mykola through this live stream. I also want to introduce Jason, who is with Defense for Children International Canada, who helps us with our technology to make sure the live stream goes well. He's our comms person and on the board of directors. And I'll introduce you to Christina Kim, who's our youth lead, help organize young people, volunteers with us. And she has a project that's connected to young people in Ukraine that we'll get to as well. So hi to all of you. Thank you for joining us. And Mykola, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. We'll try not to keep you too long because I know how busy you are. And you were telling me you're at your office, and we see the pictures behind you, which are pictures created by children who you supported, rescued um, from war zones and from Russia. And that's art they've done in your one of your art therapy programs. It's beautiful. And I know you've said that you just 5 minutes ago had a air raid siren go off, and it's finished now, but that's been your life for the last 2 years. We don't have words to explain how we feel. So, but I'm going to ask you a question. Uh, So we've known each other 15 years, and now I'm in charge, which has never happened before, and I get to ask you questions. So that's great. So you know what I wanted to start off with, because I want people to know you were the child ombudsman, and before that, you told me you were in charge of children's services. I'm going to call it that in the city of Kyiv, and now you're the founder of Save Ukraine. But I remember you telling me the story that you weren't always involved with children. That was not your career to help support children in your country, right? And when you told me that story, and I want you to tell people watching the story, how did you end up involving yourself with supporting children in your country? Like, what happened? How did you do that? What were you doing before that, and what changed?
Thank you so much. First of all, hello everybody who listening us, and it's a privilege for me to know Irvin because, yeah, really, when I met you first time, I've been presidential commissioner. It was an active war on the east, and you came to Ukraine just to support our deinstitutionalization reform because we had a lot of institutions, a lot of orphanages, and really nobody know what to do. And I asked you to come and support this reform, and you was the first person who helped, who came to Ukraine during the war and supported me, supported this reform. And I remember we had the press conference when we were together, and your support was critical for me. Yeah, it was really extremely important because not a lot of people believe that it happened in Ukraine, it's possible in Ukraine, because we are post-Soviet country, and sometimes it's hard to do any reforms because Soviet system is very maybe close to Canadian system, what you had maybe 70 years ago in Canada, when you had a lot of kids in orphanages, when people believe that this place is good for child. Why not? Why not to send child to live in orphanage? Yeah, not my child, but maybe anybody's child. It's good for them. Yeah, and many people think in Ukraine the same way, and we're really trying during the war continue this reform. It's very hard, but you asked me about my story. I'm devoted 25 years ago. I devoted my life to children because I've been businessman. I had a very good business, but one day I met street child. In 90s, it was a lot of street children all over Ukraine, and I remember this day when I stopped on the street because I've seen a boy who was begging near McDonald's, and I stopped and I tried to talk with this boy, but he was afraid to talk. He told, just give me money, and that's all. I told, I want to feed you, I want to buy something for you. And I started my first conversation with the abandoned child. And then next day I stopped the same place, and it was more children and more and more. And I went to my job every day, to my work, to my business. And I was thinking all time, day and night, how I can help these kids, why they are living on the streets, because it was thousands of kids who years were living on the streets and sniffing glue, and they was dirty, and they drink alcohol, they use drugs, and nobody cared. And at that time, my first child was born, and I have 4 kids now. And I was thinking why my child live in good condition of house and have food, but why these children abandoned? Why nobody cared? And I started my first center, daycare center, and I invited these kids to my center. We had a shower, food. I remember they had a lot of fleas. Do you know? Maybe you don't know what is this in Canada.
We know.
Okay, yeah, but these children sometimes they live 5 and more years on the street. Yeah, and it was like a community of street children, and it was hard to do something, and our system was not good to help these kids. And what police did that time, just to grab them from the streets and put to the shelter, and they ran out from that shelters on the streets. It could happen 20, 50 times, and nothing happened. And the next center, it was medical help center. We provided health checkups. We tried to help with their health. And next center, because we had children who come every day, and I thought, oh, why I can take these kids for rehabilitation, just to live in our center. And we launched our first rehabilitation center. And then when they lived in our centers, we understood that we are not ready to send them to orphanages, because many of them run away from orphanages. And oh, maybe we have to open another center, open another center who will prepare families, who will find and prepare families for adoption, for foster care. And we open a family center. And this way, we created a system. And then new government, after Orange Revolution 2004, what happened, deputy of minister of families and children came to my center, and I presented a system. And she told me, Mykola, why you don't want to work for the government? I told, what do you mean? To be a head of child protection services in Kyiv. I don't no, I hate government. I hate bureaucracy. I don't like this. She told, but you can change it. I don't, no. Maybe I'll think about it. And okay, think about it, because we trying to find this person for a capital for Kiev. I don't, okay, I will answer. But next morning, it was very early morning. It was evening when I met her, but early morning she was calling to me. And so, what do you think? What is your decision? I don't know. Yeah, I had no time just to think about it. But she told me, you have to. Yeah, it is really this position for you. You can change this world. You can build better world for these children. And this way I agreed, and I was almost 9 years at the chairman city service for children in the capital. And first 2 years I was patrolling streets, and I solved this problem with street children of building services, unites joint efforts of another organizations and state government. And it was my first experience in government. And then after war started 10 years ago, and when Poroshenko was the president, and his team, they knew very well what I'm doing. They invited me to be presidential commissioner for children's rights. I was working with this president, and then when President Zelensky came, he invited me to be his commissioner for children's rights. And this way, with that president, I started the institutionalization reform, and I continued this reform with President Zelensky. And just 6 months before the full-scale invasion, I finished my work as a commissioner. And right after full-scale invasion started, because I founded Save Ukraine organization after first invasion, and we had this experience of evacuating vulnerable population from combat zones. We immediately first day started our evacuations from combat zones.
Mykola, I want to stop you because I'll get to that. I want to go back and just say the story you told about you're this business guy, which I never met you as a businessman, although you're all business. But you were driving along, I remember you told me you're driving along, you met this young person, you took the time to sit with them and understand them. And two things happened. That young person changed your life.
Yeah.
So if there's any young people who are going to see this, Christina, remember this. You never know what you could do that will change the world, because they did. That young person who you met, Mykola, changed the world. He changed your life, and in turn you changed the world. It's amazing. But when you told me that story, and people listening to you now can hear it because you speak from your heart, you're genuine. And when I first met you in Canada, you came to me and you said, "Oh, I was a child ombudsman in Ontario, or child advocate." And you said, "Can we do a MOU?" And I'm going, "Who's this guy? He's a really good, charming guy. I like him. But who is he? Like, I don't know anything about him or really Ukraine." And I checked you out. I think I told you that. I started looking for people in the Ukrainian diaspora who were leaders and said, do you know who this person is? And can I trust him? And they said, this is to a person, this is what they said, Mykola. This is Canadian Ukrainians I was talking to and leaders. They said, they said kind of what you said. We don't like government. We don't trust government. And for people watching, remember the government they experienced was not our government, but a Soviet government. And they said, no, we don't trust government. We don't trust people there. And so we normally would say, no, don't trust him. But there's only one person we will trust that's connected to the Ukrainian government, and that's this guy, Mykola Kuleba. You can trust him. He's real. And that's how I experienced you. And I hope that's how people experience you who just heard you talk about your story. That you're the real deal. You move with your heart, absolutely. Absolutely, you move with your heart. And sometimes that makes you what I would call a cowboy sometimes, because I was called that sometimes. And you don't mind being called that, right? That you, because you do what you need to do to support children. Children are always at the center of everything you do, and I trust you.
Thank
And I
you.
want people to get to know you.
Thank you, Erwin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
Yeah, I thank you so much for your words. And once again, it was very important meeting for me to meet you and your
Oh,
support. But you mentioned now about my first experience with communication with street children,
yeah,
with abandoned children, and yeah, it was really key time in my life because as a business person, first of all, it was unexpected, and I did not understand my feelings that time because I I did not understand what happened inside me because on the one hand I tried to help, on the other hand, as a person, business person who knows how has a systematic thinking, and I had no idea what can I do because system, I have to fix system, I have to do something, but I have no idea how to do this, and I had no idea what to do with this child. It's abandoned child, sniffing glue, and how I can help. I can take this child to my house because it's a lot of children. I can take all kids to my house, but what can I do? Just to give money. But this child could buy drugs or alcohol, and many people didn't give money to street child because they thought, oh, this child will hurt himself. Maybe I will not help. Yeah, it's better for me. But I couldn't. I okay. Okay, I buy food. I buy clothes. I can help, but what is the help if child stay in the street? Because the biggest help is take this child off the street and to socialize this child. But I have no services, nothing. Oh, maybe I should build services because it was a days and months of thinking about it because I was deeper and deeper in helping children, in relation with street children. And then these children took me to the basements of buildings where they live in different places. It was dark and dirty places and not good for children, not good for human being, but they live there. And it made me crazy as, is is a human, but how it should be, it's unnormal, and I don't want to live in this society which like which create this world, bad world for children. It's really break my heart. Yeah, and now I can see, I can see stories, I can see lives of their children, and many people asking me, Nick, it is thousands of children go through your hands, your life, and you're dealing with stories every day. How you can live with this? But it's really hard. You can burn out and you can die because it's not good for any person just to hear stories about killed children, about abandoned, about orphans, about different stories about raped children. But you know that you know, Erwin, I'm a believer. I believe that God can give any person this strength. He's strengthening me, and he's giving me um, motivation and power and everything to work every day, especially now during the war, when children dying because Russia killing them every day because they want to destroy our nationality, to annihilate, to just to kill us. They hate us. Yeah, and we have to not only save children, because Save Ukraine, our organization, means we have to save generation. We have to save children, but not only save, let them survive, but to raise resilient generation. And you can read it here.
Yeah.
It's our slogan. We are raising resilient generation. It's new. It's something new, because we it's a positive thinking, not just, oh, let's help them survive. No, not only this. If we want rebuild our country, we have to raise resilient generation, strong generation. It is our motivation, it's our strategy, it's our goal, and we will do everything to reach this goal.
Mykola, I'm going to ask you in a minute about, tell me how you're doing that and what your vision is past that. But tell us a little bit about what's the state, the situation for children in your country now, including just give us an update about the children that were taken into Russia, but well, also other children in conflict zones or children elsewhere. What's the situation facing children now in your country?
Um, you know, it's really very, very critical situation. It's not about territories, because we lost 20% of territories and we lost 20% of children during the last 10 years, because on that, with that territories, Russians took our kids. They are kidnapping our children. Many kids are abducted. Many kids are living under the Russians with a huge propaganda and indoctrination and militarization our children. I'll explain you.
Mhm.
Almost 1.5 Ukrainian children for the last 10 years have been hostages. Many of them grew up and now they are young adults, and many from that young adults fighting against Ukraine as the Russian soldiers. What is a war crime? And Russia commit genocide, not only annihilating Ukrainian identity, nationality, but instilling hatred towards Ukraine, weaponizing these children and young adults, and many of them fighting on Ukrainian land because they've been brainwashed, they've been indoctrinated. And if you ask them, guys, why are you fighting? They tell, oh, because we are fighting with Nazi. We are Ukrainian Nazi. We're fighting against NATO. We're fighting with the West because they have bad values. Only Russia has the right values, and Russia is victim. But you tell, but why you are fighting if you are victim? Because the West is aggressor. They want to grab Russia. They want to destroy Russia, and we are protecting our land from the West. You know, it's a nightmare, Irvin. It is nightmare, and Russia provide this policy on all levels, not only in Russia, but on occupied territories. And if you will go now to Russian school, because we are returning kidnapped children, we are returning children from occupied territories, they will tell you this story. They're telling us every day in their schools, their teacher begin, which country you live? Children should answer Russia. And they singing Russian anthem, and then they have special militarized movements. They deal with weapon, and soldiers can come to these classes. And one child yesterday told me, who been returned, he told our class teacher, told us, you have to be proud for your country. Your country is Russia, and you have to be ready die for Putin. What is this, Irving? What is this? You are child protection expert. Can you imagine that in your country somebody can say that any child that you have to be ready die for Trudeau, or for anybody?
Yeah.
But what is this? It's real indoctrination and militarization of Ukrainian children. What is genocide? It's a war crime, and it's massively, and we have a lot of evidence what happened with our children on occupied territories and in Russia. All of them receive Russian passports. You cannot live there without Russian passports. It's impossible. It's Russification, and I don't want I don't want waste time to telling you tons of these stories. I think it is not our last conversation. We are ready to, for that people who are listening us, you can find these stories on our website. You can find a lot of articles in the press, and you can find this article on our website, saveukraine.ui.org, and read these stories about these children. But you know, it's very hard for me to tell you everything because it is about our children. And
Yeah.
70 and sorry, I'll finish.
No, no, it's okay.
75 through the according to the of the survey, 75% of Ukrainian children have the signs of psychotraumatization at the level of the body, sensations, perception of the world, and communication. And I have this percentage of what kind of problem these children have. It's a real tragedy what happened with Ukrainian children. We are not only losing our children's population through the occupation and kidnapping, but many families with children were fleeing the war. And for the last 10 years, we lost 50% of children's population. And then 50% which live in the country, more than 50% of them have experience of displacement after the war started. Many children and families displaced, many fathers now and mothers fighting. It's hundreds of thousands. They are participate in active war as the militaries, and many families divorced, and many men, especially men, more fathers died and men died. It is a huge number. It is tragedy. It is tragedy, real tragedy.
75%, and that's 75% of children across Ukraine have been traumatized, clinically traumatized by the war, and it's a outrageous and astounding, and I know you know that's gonna live with Ukraine even when after you won this war. That's gonna live with Ukraine for generations to come. We know that it's an it is like other conflicts in the world. And yours is just as important and just as traumatizing as anywhere else, and it's uh, a tragedy. I wanted to say the there's a website, a Canadian website that we have for Save Ukraine Canada that also is a place
Yeah.
called canada.saveukraine.org. And it's the same website as you have. Thank you for
Yeah.
creating one for Canada. It talks about activities of Save Ukraine Canada here. So obviously it will mention again, but because you're going to talk about what you do, uh, there's a donation button if anybody wants to donate to Save Ukraine in Ukraine. You can use it. You, Mykola, you know, I remember when this, I want to say this war started, but people might not know, and you mentioned it, so I don't need you to explain it again, but you mentioned the war before the war. Like Ukraine has been at war for many years. Russia has invaded Ukraine previously, and I remember when you were a child ombudsman, you used to go to the front and where the war was happening and check on children that there. But when this new war or in expanded war from Putin happened, one of the first things you did before you knew children were being taken into Russia, you also were really concerned about children who were in harm's way in conflict areas, and you moved them to safer areas in your country. And then you did, I think, create a new system, start beginning to create a new system, which is what you're trying to build now to support children and their families who were traumatized by the war and who you came in conflict with. And now you're even, if I've got it right, you're rescuing children right in Russia. You're finding ways to uh are you up to 300 children, probably more now, 300 children that you've rescued from Russia who were, and as you say, kidnapped, apprehended, uh, involuntarily taken away from Ukraine and brought into Russia. And so you've done all this work. And I don't know in a short space of time if you can describe the system that you've created and that you are creating for children and families in Ukraine.
Yeah. Aaron, yeah, to start this, to better explain our services and what we are doing, because I've been in Canada many times. As you know, I love your country. I love, really, you are a very peaceful country with very good people, multicultural country with a democracy. And I'm telling you, sometimes you have discussion about your problems and you think, yeah, you have real problems, but really, yeah, we are looking on your problems and we think you have no problems. Really, because with your system, with your democracy, with your um, uh, like child protection system, really, I love your country. And I want to before like explain what Ukrainian children experiencing. Yeah, and they have witnessed not only ruthless shelling, rocket attacks, large-scale fires, explosions, destruction, killing and violence. The war has stolen childhood, birthday celebration, time to spend with their families and playing with friends from millions of children, and deprive them of their own bed, a favorite cup, and pets. At the same time, children suffer from the fear of death the loss of their parents, sisters, brothers, destroyed homes, and their hometowns, separation from their fathers who have defended the country in the rank of the armed forces of Ukraine, and the many children separating thousands of kilometers with their relatives, parents, grandmother, grandfathers, and it's a huge loss for development of every child. And in these circumstances, we're trying to build comprehensive approach or comprehensive childcare and family care system, which is helping child to be extracted from Russia or occupied territories, especially that ones who've been abducted, and evacuate children from combat zones. And I will give you some statistics what we are doing. As you mentioned, we have three main pillars: rescue, restore, and rebuild. We rescued 108,000 women and children from combat zones for the last 2 years after full-scale invasion started. We have a special rescue teams. We have more than 60 vehicles, armored car, armored buses, ambulances, and every day we are rescuing these children. Yeah, almost 300 children we've been returned from occupied territories in Russia, that ones who've been abducted. And we provide humanitarian support for more than 160,000 people. And we launched 16 community centers with where every day children can attend this center, and we provide education, hot meals, trauma therapy, and positive parenting program for parents. We have 6 Hope and Healing Center when we provide rehabilitation. It is life in 6 months, life in program for that children and families and orphans and children with disabilities who lost everything, who lost their homes during the war. And very often we bring them from danger with nothing. They have nothing in their hands, and they have to build their life from zero. And our services created especially for that children, for that families, for that orphans and children with disabilities whom we want to help rebuild their life and to be reintegrated in the local community. That's why we build these services with case manager, with psychologists, when we can accommodate more than 500 people a day in our 6 home and healing centers. And we provide with food, with everything. It's a special places where with a good psychosocial support and socialization in the local communities. And after that, we reintegrate them into local community. We are building modular houses. I told you about rescue, restore, and third pillar, rebuild. We are building modular houses to provide housing for a longer term, a year and more, in 130 modular houses. These houses good for children with disabilities, for people on the wheelchair, and it's accessible with the everything inside, and they can live there more than a year with the financial support, with the psychosocial support. It's very shortly about our model. And not forget, we have a special Hope and Healing Center for children who experience sexual abuse, with a team, 20 staff of experts who provide rehabilitation, therapy, and accompany children through the law enforcement system and court system. And we have one special center for the elderlies, for abandoned elderlies in Lviv region, and we provide accommodation of old people who've been abandoned in combat zones or whom we returned from occupied territories in this center. I can tell you hours about what we are doing and
Yes,
how
you
we are
can.
doing, but what people who listen to us should understand that our approach about saving child, taking from danger, and strengthening families, rehabilitate them, and reintegrate into a local community, and all our services about this.
What I love what you're doing, well, first of all, I love everything you're doing. And what people need to understand is like it's impossible for me to figure out how you did it because you did it out of nothing so quickly, right? It's just like how you told your original story. You when you saw the child on the street, you said I have to do something, and then you
Erwin,
do it. Wait, you did this so quickly, and you're expanding, and you figure out how to do it. You don't let things get in your way, even lack of funding. You figure it out. And so, if people
Erwin,
want
I
to
have
know,
the answer. I'm that lucky guy. I'm that lucky guy who surrounded people like you, who surrounded
please,
people. No, Erwin, who surrounded people inside country, because
yes,
we have more than 100 staff and we have more than 300 volunteers who immediately join efforts, and we are very devoted and passionate people. We are every day, we are planning and we are acting, we are doing, we not just like thinking about it, but we acting, we decide, just like now, let's open a center for children with disabilities because more and more kids do this. Oh, who do we need? Because I've been 25 years in child protection, I can easily call to experts in different countries, for example, in Netherlands or in Canada. And if I'll ask you, Erwin, I need the best professional for children with disabilities, and you will give me these people in Canada, and we can easily receive their consultancy, and another people can provide us with financial support. We can ask, guys, we need $100,000, for example, for repair this building. We need this money for 1 year support for staff, for food, for everything. Okay, and this way, first day after war started, my friends from all over the world was calling, Nick, what help you need? Why we have 60 vehicles? We have unique armored buses even, because people from United States, from Canada, from Europe was very active and help us. And we have these friends. That's why we could survive and build a system for these children, these centers. And through these centers, we could help tens of thousands children for the last 2 years. And we can help more. And that's why we open Save Ukraine Canada, to join efforts Canadians who can provide us support, and we can help more kids, we can save more children's lives. It is our strategy, it is our plan.
yeah, thank you. And where people can find out more about the activities? What's the website again, Mykola? Save Ukraine. Tell us the website address.
No, it's better maybe to give people Canadian
Okay,
website.
let me
Yeah,
see it again. It's
yeah.
canada.saveukraineua.org. That's the website. But I know we're gonna go over time, and I know Jason won't let me do that. So there's one more thing I want to talk about and bring Christina in on this. Mykola, when I visited you, you mentioned I visited you 15, I don't even know, 15 years ago or more, and you said, okay, we're going to do a press conference about deinstitutionalization, ending the orphanage system. And I don't know if you remember what I said to you was, oh, well, you're talking about kids in orphanages. Do you have any young people in orphanages who might want to say why they think the orphanage system should be discarded? And you go, oh, yeah. And then the next day for the press conference, what did you do? You said, oh, I forgot her name. I'm sure you remember her. I found this person and she would like to speak at our press conference. You did that.
Yeah.
And because you knew that voices of young people were really important and you knew that's what inspired you, I think. And this young woman at the time, holy, she was, wow, really, really strong advocate. I don't think she ever spoke at a press conference before or ever spoke a speech, but she was really the heart of your effort. And then I come home to Canada, and months later, what do I see? I see a picture that you send me of this same young woman standing in her parliament, on the floor of the parliament, receiving a standing ovation as she's in front of the parliament at what we would call a speaker's chair, giving an address about why the orphanage system needs to be abandoned. And she was getting a standing ovation. You provided that opportunity for that young person, and then I'm not asking you to explain it all, but then you created a council and a Ukrainian young people's
National Children's Council. Yeah.
Thank you. And I know you're committed to that, and it's important to you, and it drives you. I wanted to say that because you are allowing Defense for Children International with Save Ukraine to create a young people's bridge between Canada and the young people you serve, the thousands of young people you serve, so that they can come together and their voices can be heard. And Christina is the leader of that. And so I know she had some questions for you. I don't know if she has thoughts about what she's heard you say, because probably she's never met you before and haven't heard you speak. So I'm gonna ask her to either both ask you a question and make any comments.
Yeah, so I think as a youth myself, um, it's really devastating to hear these stories, and I can't imagine what it would be like for the children in Ukraine. I know a lot of young people who do not realize how bad the condition is in Ukraine. And even for myself, I didn't know that it was this bad until you told me the stories. So, like, how do you suggest that we spread the news about the ongoing war in Ukraine to people that don't know about it? And like, what are some key messages to include when we are doing this?
Thank you, Christina. And Erwin, you told this story about this young woman from the orphanage, and it was really touching story because she experienced this life in orphanage. And you told me that we have to have children's voices who experience, not adults. And even now, after that, she was first, and I asked her to be in the parliament. She was witnessing there, and President Y was involved, and she helped to to raise her voice in parliament. And just now, when we returning children who've been abducted, we helping these children to raise their voices. And just 2 months ago, I've been with 5 kids in American Congress. They've been witnessing in US Congress about war crimes, about abduction of children. And Christina, thank you for your question. And really, it's very, very important to reach every young heart with understanding what happened with the Ukrainian youth, with Ukrainian children, because you know that through this, not only through understanding what they experience, but through the support of these young people who experience real war, real trauma, you in Canada can grow with the compassion, with the understanding, and you can be, you know, like have a right heart, because only through the compassion and help of that, the most vulnerable, who are dying, who are suffering, you could, it's my understanding, you could grow normally, because we are living in this weird world. And for young people, for children, it's very important to participate in program and support the vulnerable children, vulnerable families, to volunteer. I understand you can't volunteer in Ukraine, it's dangerous, but you can, maybe you can join efforts of youth and to communicate with Canadian youth, to tell them stories of Ukrainian children, to tell them what happened with them, to ask them to share these stories, to raise their voices for Ukrainian children against genocide of Ukrainian children, and to find different kind of support, how to support these children. Maybe you can find that people, that business, or that organization who could care for, who could help us with, it's not only money, yeah, but it could be like, I don't know, food. It could be, maybe we can organize online meetings and just to meet this youth and communicate with them, to help them learn English or French. I don't know. I think we can find possible ways how to help each other, because it's not only one way. It's not only to help them. I believe they can help Canadian youth. They can help Canadian youth.
You made me laugh because you said they can learn English, and then you remembered, wait, Canada's a bilingual country, or French.
yeah.
That's the politician in you, man.
Yeah.
I would never have thought. I would think, oh yeah, that's right. He's right to remember that. Good one, Mykola. I get another piece of credit for you in my mind for that. Yeah, thank you. If Christina, if young people want to get involved that are hearing this in Canada, because I know Mykola, you'll have people there, young people that want to be involved. How can they reach you? Do you remember the email that they should email?
I'm pretty sure it's office@dci-canada.org.
Yep, that's
So
it.
anyone interested in participating in the Young People's Bridge that we're planning on building can just email us through there.
Yep.
And what, do you know, Christina? I maybe 2 months ago I've been in Great Britain, and it was conversation. No, it was in United States. I've been in Georgetown University, and we've been talking, and I wrote to artificial intelligence a request how young people, for example, in Canada, yeah, it was in United States, can help youth in Ukraine who experience war trauma, who've been rescued. And I received maybe 6 points how young people can help. If artificial intelligence knows how to do this, and I understand that it's something new, but I know that if you will find some smart intelligent people in Canada, youth, and you can strategize. You can find great way how to help Ukrainian youth not only survive, but be strong.
Smart, intelligent people equals Canadian, I think. So it won't be hard to find them, right? Right,
Yeah.
Mykola?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Christina, do you have any other questions or comments for Mykola?
Not at the moment, I think.
Okay, thank you for being here, Christina. Thank you for everything you do for us at DCI.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you so much.
Mykola, I think we're gonna wrap up. I want to make sure you have the last word. So I'll just say thank you to anyone who's watching the live stream. I wanna say the website again. Save you is it? Let me look it up so I get it right.
SaveUkraineUA.org.
Okay, that's yours. Office at DCI Canada.org if you want to be involved in the Young People's Bridge, or even if you have questions, we can pass them on to Mykola. Boy, I said that earlier, Mykola, that and I've said to your staff, I really don't know what to say to you, right? I don't have words. I always mention my wife Kimberly. You know, I always quote her and say things about Kimberly, right? I don't know why. She's a touchstone for me, but she hates me or anybody calling people heroes because she said that's thrown out there too often, and we don't really know what that means. And I was just gonna call you a hero, but I think even Kimberly would say that. People don't know how you've dedicated your life, but also the risk you take. I don't need you to speak to that. I'm just speaking from my heart about you. The risk you take by doing what you're doing, the risk you take by being here on the screen, the risk you take by where you go and what you do in your country, but it's a political risk and it's dangerous what you're doing. And you still do and separated from your family from time, right? Because you're there, right? You're there, and there's no but. And I'm not asking you to give a but, so don't give a but. And I know there's a lot. I met your staff, and there are a lot of you're marching with a lot of heroes, and I've met the young people you serve, especially those from the orphanages, and they're heroes too. I get it. I'm talking about you right now. And
Thank
so
you.
I want to say I don't have words for you and your staff and the youth about, I can't, what am I going to say? I'm sorry? Like, that does you no good. And it's why we're doing this live stream. It's why we're building a Young People's Bridge, because you've motivated us to say what you said. We're not just going to stand by and watch. We're not going to be silent. We're going to do whatever we can. And I encourage people watching who encounter this live stream to do the same. Find a way to do whatever you can. Be like that child you met on your journey that changed your world. And people have the ability to do that. You never know what small act can do to change the world. So I want to thank you for allowing us to share this time with you. And I'm gonna and please do not talk about me. I'm gonna give you a chance to sign us off and have the last word.
First of all, thank you so much. And I never count that I am a hero. I just doing my job, and because children's matter, children's lives matter, really, and we must do this to save kids, to save our country, to help them. And I'm so grateful for everybody who doing what they can for that people who praying for us, who helping us, for standing with us, who sharing information about Ukraine, who communicating with other people, who protecting us, for that soldiers who are fighting for our country, for our families, for our life, for everybody, and because we are one family. We are one family, guys. It doesn't matter you live in Canada, United States, Europe. We are one family, and we have to protect our democracy, our countries, our values, where children matter. We have to protect them from this crazy world which could hurt them, abuse them. That's why we have to continue our fight, because it is fight for existence. I don't know if we lost Ukraine, what do you feel? Erwin, what do you feel in Canada if Russia will destroy our country, will kill Ukrainians? I don't believe that you will feel normally that, oh, okay, but who will be next? Who will be next? What country? Because they will not stop. That's why on all stages, I am asking people, support Ukraine, be with us, stand with us, fight with us. It is my call to action for everybody who listening us here or anywhere. And I'm asking you to help us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mykola, and thank you everybody for watching. After hearing this, there's no way people won't be standing with you and your country and the children you serve. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Christina. So we'll sign off now.
Thank you so much.